is about keeping mixtures separated. You have oxygen-rich blood ready to be distributed and oxygen-poor blood returning from the body.
Mixing them would be wildly inefficient for the engine.
Right.
So to prevent that, you have a segregated highway system. Generally, arteries carry blood away from the heart under high pressure.
And veins carry blood back to the heart under lower pressure, using one-way valves to fight gravity.
But there is a vital mechanical exception that often confuses people.
The pulmonary artery and the pulmonary vein.
Yes.
Because usually arteries have the freshly oxygenated blood, but the pulmonary artery carries oxygen-poor blood away from the heart to the lungs.
Right.
And the pulmonary vein brings oxygen-rich blood back to the heart.
And the reason evolution structured the heart this way comes down to fluid pressure dynamics.
Okay, how so?
Well, the right ventricle pumps blood to the lungs. The lungs are made of incredibly delicate tissue alveoli that would literally rupture under high pressure.
Oh, wow.
So the right side of the heart pumps at a lower pressure just to the lungs via the pulmonary artery.
And then the freshly oxygenated blood returns via the pulmonary vein to the left ventricle.
Exactly. And that left ventricle has a massive, incredibly thick muscle wall. It needs to generate enough high pressure to blast that dense mixture all the way down to your toes and up to your brain.
And what it's blasting is a dense suspension and solution. Red blood cells carrying oxygen, white blood cells acting as the immune system security force, platelets ready to trigger clotting cascades.
All suspended in plasma, the liquid solvent.
But the main arteries and veins are really just the highways. For the listener, the actual offloading of this energy happens in the microscopic capillaries.
Yeah, the capillaries are microscopic vessels with walls only one single cell thick.
It's the ultimate last-mile delivery problem in logistics. You can use massive 18-wheelers, the arteries, to move goods across the country, but you can't drive an 18-wheeler up to someone's front porch.
You definitely can't.
You need a fleet of small delivery vans. The capillaries slow the blood flow down just enough and get close enough to individual cells that oxygen and glucose can physically diffuse across the cellular membrane.
And this continuous delivery of biological fuel allows for cellular division and organism growth.
Right.
But growth strategies differ wildly across species. Take a bird, like a chicken.
Okay.
Its life cycle is essentially a linear accumulation of mass. An egg undergoes incubation, it hatches, and the chick needs, like, a starter mash.
Right. It consumes specialized feed, becomes a grower, then an adult.
Exactly. It accumulates calories, scales up its existing structure, and grows. It's a continuous, straightforward expansion of the engine.
Here's where it gets really interesting, though, because then you have insects that utilize metamorphosis, which brings us back to the caterpillar from the very beginning of our deep dive.
Oh, yes.
So you have incomplete metamorphosis, like a cockroach, where it goes egg, nymph, adult. The nymph is basically just a mini adult.
Right.
But complete metamorphosis is a radical evolutionary strategy. Egg, larva, pupa, adult. The caterpillar looks, acts, and eats entirely differently from the adult butterfly or mosquito.
Which begs the question, why?
Yeah, why lock yourself inside a pupa, a cocoon, where you can't run, fight, or eat? You are a stationary, highly vulnerable target for literally any predator that finds you.
It seems like a terrible idea.
Evolutionarily, why take on that extreme risk instead of just growing linearly like a bird?
Because biological efficiency sometimes requires a total structural teardown.
Oh.
A caterpillar is an optical eating machine. It's basically a slow-moving digestive tube designed to consume massive amounts of plant glucose. But an adult butterfly is a mating and dispersal machine, optimized for complex flight. You can't just bolt wings onto a heavy digestive tube.
That makes a lot of sense.
Exactly. Inside the pupa, the insect releases enzymes that dissolve its own tissue. It fundamentally breaks its own chemical bonds, reducing its complex mixtures down into a protein-rich biological soup.
The biological slurry.
Yes. Then, using specialized clusters of cells called imaginal discs that survive the meltdown, it utilizes that soup as raw material to construct a totally new, highly specialized adult body.
So it trades temporary vulnerability for the massive ecological advantage of having two perfectly optimized body plans in a single lifetime.
It's the ultimate biological alchemy.
And whether you are a butterfly rebuilding your entire body or a human pumping high-pressure blood from your left ventricle, these physical engines require strict maintenance.
They absolutely do.
Which is where the concepts of personal health and hygiene actually intersect with raw physics and chemistry.
Right, like when medical techs advise on bathing, oral hygiene, or hand washing to prevent pathogens.
Or even menstrual hygiene for adolescent health.
Exactly. They aren't just reinforcing societal norms. You are actively, physically removing biological pathogens, microscopic pests, before they can breach your epidermis and enter your solvent stream.
And the warnings against the abuse of drugs, heavy tobacco, or alcohol,
Okay.
it's not moralizing, it's mechanical.
It really is.
Introducing specific toxic compounds into your bloodstream changes the chemical nature of your internal mixtures.
It poisons the solvent.
Right. It poisons the solvent, damages the delicate one-cell thick walls of the capillaries, and forces the four-chambered pump to work against improper pressure gradients.
The human body is remarkably resilient, but it is still a physical engine operating within strict chemical parameters. You have to maintain this system if you want it to keep running.
So let's zoom back out and trace the through line of everything we've unpacked today.
Let's do it.
It is one continuous, unbreakable flow of energy. Electromagnetic radiation from our central star, the sun, crosses millions of miles of a dead vacuum. It hits the Earth, transferring heat that drives the evaporation and convection currents of our weather and mixtures.
And that same solar radiation hits the microscopic chloroplasts inside a green leaf, powering the capillary action of the ganylum and the chemical synthesis of glucose.
Which is then managed by a farmer, harvested, consumed by you, and right now it's being pumped by the left ventricle of your heart through your arteries and into your microscopic capillaries to fuel your cells.
It's an incredible unified system of energy and matter. And based on our deep dive today, there is one final connection I want you to consider.
Okay, what is it?
Think about the exact relationship between the stomata on the underside of a leaf and the capillaries inside your own body.
The two microscopic shipping and receiving docks.
Exactly. The plant takes in carbon dioxide through its stomata and expels oxygen as a chemical waste product of its solar-powered factory.
Right.
Meanwhile, your red blood cells, squeezing single file through your capillaries, pick up that exact oxygen, use it to burn the plant's glucose for energy, and expel carbon dioxide as your waste product. You and the plants outside your window right now are locked in a continuous, invisible exchange of gases. You are two halves of the exact same breeding cycle, entirely powered by a star millions of miles away.
That is something to think about next time you walk outside and take a deep breath.
Absolutely.
Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the hidden architecture of the world. We hope it helps you look at your environment and yourself a little differently today. Keep questioning, keep exploring, and we'll catch you on the next deep dive.